everybody, and welcome to the channel. It's Paulie, Esther here. Today we're going to talk about a few different things. We're going to talk about the teaser, we're going to talk about the Hellraiser lawsuit, and we're going to talk about the possibility of Kirsty Cotton as a survivor. So first of all, we're going to go back to this teaser that we got. I'm just going to let this play. And as convinced as I am that this means that it's Hellraiser and Pinhead, there are people who are equally convinced that there are indications that are visible even in this teaser that it's going to be Five Nights at Freddy's. And this begs the question of whether or not this was intentional. Do there just happen to be so many coincidences? Did the devs purposefully twist this in a direction that multiple licenses could be interpreted from this just to keep us in suspense and draw out the surprise until the very final moments? Like, I've seen people say that the bell signifies the end of the workday in Five Nights at Freddy's. I've seen them say that the 4 music notes talks about the 4 animatronics in Five Nights at Freddy's, the 1987 date, and the top here is the bite of 87, even the SLP in the bottom. So this is a VHS tape. Normally when you would rent or buy a movie from a video store, if it was SP, that was a 2-hour-long tape, and generally a movie would fit on a 2-hour-long tape. You also had LP for long play and super long play, which this is in super long play, which means that this would not be like a tape that you'd buy with a movie over the counter because it's in 6-hour-long mode. And so that would mean either you could fit more than one movie on the tape because you have 6 hours of space, or people pointed out that 6 hours is how long the workday is to get through a night in Five Nights at Freddy's. So yeah, I see what a lot of people are saying about different things, like the pareidolia stuff where you see images in background stuff. Like, that's just your mind playing tricks on you. I don't put a lot of stock in that, but I can see how people can make their own ideas fit into this. And I just wonder how much of it is coincidence, how much is on purpose. I do think that the devs were very carefully calculating the letters that they would release one at a time to see how many different licenses those letters would fit into. So I think that was on purpose. But these other things, like the 1987, which is also the year that Hellraiser came out, different things like that makes me wonder if they purposely designed it to just keep us guessing. And you know, the one thing that I have learned from this is how passionate and large the Five Nights at Freddy's fan base is that we have within our community already. And so for the sake of argument, let's say that I'm right and it isn't Five Nights at Freddy's and that it's Hellraiser. I think the devs need to take a very long, hard look at Five Nights at Freddy's, because we've seen how much passion there is for it amongst the community already. I know that there's a lot of fear among other people who make these arguments that I don't really agree with. They say that FNAF is a kid's game, FNAF isn't horror. I don't agree with either of those points. And they are fearful that a Five Nights at Freddy's license would bring a youthful group to the game. But at the same time, when you see how many fans that we have already, and considering that Five Nights at Freddy's is a 7-year-old game, there are people who grew up with the game that are now adults of age that definitely fit into the demographic and mature age rating for our game. That it's fine, it's a non-issue. But I understand that they're afraid that they're going to bring kids to the game and immaturity, because everybody in the Dead by Daylight community is mature already, right? But anyway, like, I see what they're saying, but I think it's more of a sky is falling moment, that it wouldn't be as hurtful as people make it out to be. And yeah, I think that seeing how many people there are in the fan base, that Dead by Daylight needs to really take a long hard look at it and consider it. So I don't know, I wouldn't care either way. If this turns out one way or another, Hellraiser or FNAF, I know there are people who are very passionate and they really want one and really don't want the other. But at the end of the day, I just want whatever helps the game grow, brings more people to the game, gets people excited about the game. That's all I really want in a license. I mean, the last 2 summers, the flagship license that they brought in, Silent Hill and Resident Evil. Those weren't really for me, but not everything has to be for me. Like, as long as it's good for the game, helps the game grow, that's good enough for me. And that's the way I'm going to look at whatever this license turns out to be. Okay, so I see a lot of people telling me that it simply can't be Hellraiser because Hellraiser is in the middle of a lawsuit. Well, it really isn't. Like, they have a settlement reached, and it's all based on this copyright law from 1976 here. The termination of the Copyright Act of 1976, which allows authors to recapture rights from publishers after waiting a prescribed period, which is 35 years. So the reason why people think this is such a big problem is because of what we saw happening with Jason and that lawsuit, where Victor Miller said, I terminate my my contract with you and I'm reclaiming my rights to Jason. And then the movie studio said, well, we don't actually believe that you own Jason because you were working for us when you wrote that script, so we still own it. So that's why that's a big problem. So now, for somebody like the likes of Stephen King and Clive Barker, who wrote Hellraiser, it's obvious that they own it. Like, they wrote these books beforehand, so there really is no lawsuit in these situations. There's no doubt about it that Clive Barker has ownership of Hellraiser because he wrote it. So this was settled amicably, and the rights are returned to Clive Barker on December 19th, 2021. So there's a settlement. The proposal was given to the judge, and they agreed that Clive Barker is going to get his rights back to Hellraiser in December. And people say, well, that means you can't sign anything with Clive Barker until December, so it can't be Hellraiser. Well, yeah, you can't sign anything with Clive Barker until December, but you can sign it with the people who are the current license holders, and that's what they did. So you see this example here that talks about, Larry Zerner talks about this, and they talk about how Stephen King reclaimed his rights to Pet Sematary, but you have to give the current license holder 2 years notice that you're going to do this, which gives them the opportunity to use the license in a use it or lose it kind of manner. And so then the movie studio, Paramount said, oh, snap, Stephen King's going to take Pet Sematary back from us, so we got to quick use it or lose it. And then they made the reboot of Pet Sematary. See how that works? So then the current license holders of Hellraiser be like, well, Clive's taking this back, so what are we going to do with it? Let's get this deal done with Behavior, sign it up on a video game before the rights are reclaimed, right? So it's the lawsuit is immaterial. The current license holder is able to do whatever they want with the license before Clive reclaims ownership. So this is a non-issue. They can very definitely have months or even years ago gone through and started to work on this and sign these contracts with Behavior. Not a problem to sign Hellraiser to Dead by Daylight because of this lawsuit by any means. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at Ashley Lawrence's Twitter account. Ashley Lawrence is the actress who played Kirsty Cotton in Hellraiser 1 and 2. She also has a cameo in Hellraiser 3, but primarily she's known for her work in the first two Hellraiser films. And if you're familiar with my channel, you may remember seeing me do one of these Twitter deep dives before, because you can get some information based on what account somebody is following and what they're liking. So we see here that Ashley does a lot of following on Twitter. She has over 4,800 accounts that she is following on Twitter. And when you click on this, it'll give you a reverse chronological order of how long someone has been following an account. So if you click on this, the top one will be the account that she followed most recently, all the way down to the bottom, which would be the first account that she started to follow. So we can see here that she started to follow Dead by Daylight and the parent company Behavior Interactive back to back. And it isn't very recently, because there are a number of counts above this, maybe 100 or so. So it isn't like just as soon as all of this Pinhead information started coming out. She's been following them for a little while. I also find it very interesting, just the fact that she is following the parent company, Behavior Interactive, first, and then the game afterwards. It shows to me some kind of a knowledge that these are the people who make the game, instead of just like, oh, that's a horror game, that's cool, I'm gonna follow that account. The back-to-back here is interesting. I don't know. It could be as simple as her seeing, I think Tony Todd also followed them back-to-back. She follows Tony. She follows a lot of people in the industry, Jason Blum, Victor Miller, Bill Moseley, a lot of people that she would have met on the horror convention circuit, going to similar conventions. So it could be that she saw Tony Todd like these two and she liked those two as well. I don't think she's been following them as long as Tony has, though. I think it's much more recent for Kirsty to have been following them. And I don't think that it's triggered by the talk of the Pinhead stuff. So we look deeper into her account to try and get this chronological order. We see here that she started following the Candyman movie. Now, we know that this account didn't come, like, it had zero content, no tweets until the very end of February 2020. And we can see here on the bar, this is way down on her list. So, of her followers, this is near the bottom when she started following the Candyman movie. So, the Dead by Daylight stuff is much more recent. And why is that significant? Well, because when the Chains of Hate chapter came out, the reveal of Chains of Hate was right around the time that this Candyman account first started to put out tweets, because a couple weeks previous to that, we had seen the Chains of Hate teaser with the chain on the ground, and King and I and other speculators were saying the chain meant that it was Hellraiser, and we all started talking about the possibility of Hellraiser coming to Dead by Daylight then, back in February 2020, and that did not trigger Kirsty to start following Dead by Daylight then. It's much more recent that she started following it, but not as recent as the new speculation. She's followed it longer than that. So why? Does she know something that we don't know? Is it purely coincidental? It's very interesting to me. Does this signify that we could be getting Kirsty Cotton as a survivor in Dead by Daylight? So Ashley's been following Dead by Daylight for a while, but as near as I can tell, she hasn't liked anything that Dead by Daylight or Behavior has posted. I looked down her timeline, a bit. I didn't go super deep diving on it, but as near as I can tell, she hasn't liked anything that Dead by Daylight or Behavior has posted until this, which this makes sense because, this seems to indicate that Hellraiser is coming to Dead by Daylight. It probably was brought to her attention. It makes sense that she would like this tweet. This really doesn't mean anything to me. But then right afterwards, she also likes the tweet of Meg Turney here, which has nothing to do with the Hellraiser chapter. It's Meg Turney cosplaying as Meg in the cats and dogs outfit, and she liked that one too. So I don't know if that's just like she's looking with some extra scrutiny at the Dead by Daylight account now and just, oh, I like that too. But I don't know, it's almost like, well, did you have to be quiet about this until now? Because we can see from her timeline that she's been following Dead by Daylight for a while, but not like it, from last year, February, when we were talking about Pinhead before. Didn't seem like the follows were triggered by that, and doesn't seem like the follows were triggered by the recent speculation either. So it's in between that. So it seems like maybe a few months. So does she have some knowledge about, does she have some prior knowledge about Hellraiser coming to Dead by Daylight? It's pretty interesting to me. I don't know. Does this necessarily indicate that the character of Kirsty Cotton herself is coming to Dead by Daylight? I don't think so. I know there are a lot of Hellraiser fans who would love to see her. I also would love to see her come in. But, I don't think that this means necessarily that she is coming. I don't think that Dead by Daylight would have to contact her personally to put her character in the game. I believe that the license holder holds the rights to that character, and much like the same way that they could put Laurie Strode in Dead by Daylight without needing to talk to Jamie Lee Curtis at all, I think it would be that kind of same situation where they don't need her permission, they don't need Danny Glover's permission to put in Detective Tapp, etc., etc. They can do it without her, but it is interesting to me that she would have been following the game for a significant lead up of time before this, and now she's starting to like the stuff. So I don't know. I don't know what this means. I mean, if the data miners are right, this is going to be a standalone killer chapter with no corresponding survivor. And, I mean, it is what it is. I guess then Kirsty Cotton would be lumped into the pile of survivors that never were, like Sally Hardesty from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Sidney Prescott from Scream, the ones that we're all going to be longing for to see one day, and maybe it'll never happen. Or maybe, boom, we'll all be surprised and there will be a Kirsty Cotton survivor to go along with this chapter. We'll have to wait and see. I have really tried to rein in my pareidolia and seen so many people run rampant with seeing things in images and backgrounds and stuff. I am a recovering pareidolia addict. If anybody remembers my Pennywise video where I saw Pennywise everywhere and everything, and I'm sure that the entire dev team just had a bunch of knee slap laughs at my descent into the madness of pareidolia and seeing faces and images and everything. But I'm a recovering pareidolia addict, and here I relapsed when I looked at this television turning off and seeing what I want to see, or maybe it's there, maybe it's not, but I swear I see Kirsty's reflection holding the puzzle box in her hand on the right hand side of this TV. It's probably nothing, and everybody, the whole dev team, is laughing at me again. But pareidolia is a hell of a drug. That's all I have to say about that. But I would really love to see Kirsty come into the game. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. Fingers crossed, but you mean if you're relying on data miner information, it doesn't sound like it. Okay, that's all I have for you today. I want to give a shout out to Bridget. Bridget, thank you for talking to me on Twitter about this situation with Ashley Lawrence's Twitter in the first place. And Paulie, stop calling Ashley Lawrence Kirsty. That's her character name, not her actual name. But Bridget, thank you for talking to me about this. You better say hello to me next time you see me at a convention. But yeah, that's all I have for you today. We shouldn't have to wait too much longer to find out the actual contents of this chapter 21. Probably the public test build will be coming out this upcoming week. Looking forward to it. But let me know what you think about all of this. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Ring that bell like a wraith so that you don't miss the next video. And don't forget to take care of each other in and out of the fog. We'll see you next time. Oh, and one more thing. People said it's got to be an original chapter because the teaser doesn't have any trademark text at the end. There have been other teasers like this that were this short that also did not have trademarks in it. And there's nothing in this teaser to trademark. It's a television. There aren't any characters that are owned by anyone in the teaser. No need for a trademark. All right. See you next time. Bye-bye. It's a Gen Rush life for us. It's a Gen Rush life for us. Set a hiding, we do gens. Set a randoms, we got friends. It's a Gen Rush life.